I want to thank you for attending. And really, initially, I just want to introduce you to what Grown New York is. This is a global food and ag business competition in which teams compete with some sort of innovative service or product that can impact the region of upstate New York through economic development as you scale and grow your business here. I certainly will get into the bigger or smaller details, I should say, in just a few minutes as I advance. In the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to provide an overview of our competition. And then at the end, I'll go through the Q&A. And I just ask that you utilize the Q&A feature in the menu bar to submit your questions. Destiny here will do her best to respond. And then those that remain, I will tend to after I'm done giving the presentation. Much of the details and explanation or just supporting documentation to what I'll present today is available on our website. It's grow-ny.com. And also, we will continue to have these information sessions through May when our application is due May 15th. And if you're interested in attending additional information sessions or suggesting other team members or advisors attend to get an idea about Grow New York competition, you can go to our Eventbrite by scanning the QR code here. So what is Grow New York? This is an equity-based venture competition. The prizes are actually in equity investments, in which I'll get into in a moment. But as I mentioned, we're targeting innovative, high growth potential, scalable startups that are in the food and ag space, ready to scale and grow in upstate New York. We have an application process that just opened yesterday, and as I mentioned, closes May 15th. But really, the strategy of this competition or the objective is to attract startups to upstate New York to help maintain its New York leadership in food and ag. We draw businesses in to build the ecosystem and meanwhile help support startups like yours in food and ag build and grow here. So in terms of the program itself, I work for Cornell University. The program is supported through the administration by Cornell Center for Regional Economic Advancement. Our acronym is CREA. We administer and operate the competition through support of Empire State Development. New York State funds the program and its operations in the impact of that economic development strategy that I mentioned earlier. You may interface with multiple team members if you are to email the grow-ny@cornell.edu email. I am Sarah. Destiny's on the call. We also have a Sarah DeVault Feldman, and I mentioned Jen Smith, our director. The competition itself has 3 award levels. It's structured as equity investments that Cornell University makes in your startup in exchange for economic development milestones met in the region by the prize winners. The top prize is a $1 million investment. There's 2 $500,000 and 4 $250,000 prize levels. And I will get into the details of the equity investment later on in some future slides. So this is really helpful visual, especially for teams that are considering Grow New York from abroad. This is a global competition. We welcome, of course, local teams, but many teams are familiarizing themselves geographically with New York and the ag and food ecosystem here. So as you look at the orange area, that's the outline geographical area in which are economic development councils that help support and funnel New York State funding to support the competition are based out of. And they are dedicated to supporting startups through the Grow New York program to help build and grow here. So as an applicant, you're expected to formulate a plan to have some sort of operational impact on this specific geographic region. It contains 22 counties of upstate New York, and it's really the hub of food and ag or of food growing and producing in New York State. So we have a very appealing historical leadership in producing food here in New York State. The Grow New York region itself contains 43% of New York State farms, and that's inclusive of 2 million acres of farmland and is home to approximately 275 craft beverage producers. Wine and beer and other beverage production is flourishing here in the upstate New York area. Um, in terms of New York State, we are within the top five producers of apples, grapes, wine, maple syrup, and dairy products. And key ag products that are definitely within the dairy space are yogurts, cottage cheeses, and sour cream. And in terms of other crops beyond apples, I would say snap peas, as well as cabbage and corn are really growing crops as well in terms of production. We have a robust food and ag supply chain, which I will talk a little bit in the future slides about some of our partner organizations that we offer introductions to of our finalists. And then, of course, what supports that food and ag supply chain is our natural resources, in which just within the Finger Lakes region alone, we have over 6 trillion gallons of fresh water available to help support much of our food and ag industries. In terms of active industry players that are seeking strategic partnerships with our finalists, include Constellation Brands, which is a producer and marketer of alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages. Fairlife just recently opened the largest dairy processing plant in the Northeast in Webster, New York, in which they process ultra-filtered milk. Ledestri is a regional large-scale co-packer, as well as we have smaller scale family-owned food and beverage manufacturing like Baldwin Richardson Foods Company as well, who actually produces custom ingredients. Wegmans is a very well-known grocery founded out of Rochester, New York. Many of our CPG companies make connections with leadership in the Wegmans markets. And Chobani recently opened a plant in Rome, New York for their dairy products manufacturing. So all of these industries are made accessible to our finalists. And I would say specifically, Wegmans and Chobani offers one-on-one webinars with our finalists cohort during our business development phase, which I'll talk a little bit about what that is in a moment. And then in terms of research institutions, we definitely have beyond Cornell, which significantly adds to the robust academic resources that are here in the Grow New York region. But really, it is the knowledge capital of the region in terms of working with Syracuse University, Cornell, RIT, SUNY Morrisville, and many other academic institutions throughout the Grow New York region. Again, whether a startup needs lab space or possibly even connection to research scientists and supportive research, these are the institutions that oftentimes offer supportive collaborations to our finalists. And in terms of really where industry and the academic institutions overlay with innovation, this is actually, I need probably another slide to really fairly represent all of the incubators in the innovation space scattered throughout the Grow New York region. These are our very close partners in acceleration and incubation of startups within New York State, some of them working with lithium ion batteries, clean tech, We have the Innovation Hub Inspire out of Syracuse working with drones and robotics and deep tech. And then NextCore out of Rochester with roots in Kodak working on infotonics. So really, this is a nice representation of the resources available for startups, specifically our finalists to tap into as they are working on their business development phase. More broadly speaking, we created this logo garden of our supportive partners and resources. There's always some sort of appealing resource on this page for our finalists, and which includes organizations and institutional programs that have built relationships with our program leaders, but also our past finalists and winning teams. This is really just actually a sampling of the potential support a finalist might have access to during the business development phase. So our applications just opened yesterday and they close May 15th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. That date is important to kind of mark on your calendar, but also by attending this info session, you'll be added to our mailing list and be prompted and reminded to the deadline itself. Finalists are selected by the end of August. And then from September, October into early November, I've mentioned a couple times the business development phase, and that is when the finalists, the 20 finalists, are selected out of the application pool to be paired up with mentors to help them prepare for their work here in upstate New York, but also for their pitch competition that takes place in November 2026 in Rochester, New York. I will get into each one of these phase timeline segments in more detail. Okay, so if you've made it this far and you've registered to attend this information session, you may be asking what is the eligibility? Um, and more broadly speaking, and already mentioned, is that we are targeting early stage, high growth potential, scalable startups that are doing work within the innovation space of food and ag. We welcome teams that have a service or a product um, that they are ready to scale and have a presence and work in upstate New York. Um, we are seeking teams that are able to receive an investment, so an LLC or some sort of corporate entity is required. Um, you really need to have some sort of high growth opportunities, and it ties into our growth potential criteria, judge criteria that I'll talk about upcoming. And having some sort of innovation will be evaluated as well. So some sort of novel, new, unique product or service that is disruptive in a positive way to the food and ag space. And then, of course, early stage, which I'll define a little bit more clearly. So we ask that applicants meet these criteria, two of the four listed. If you have more than two, that's fine. But typically, our applicants are 3 to 7 years mature. They need to have minimally and their innovation needs to be prototyped or have been run through some sort of pilot work or demonstration work to prove its effectiveness. Um, we look for teams that are pre-revenue or early revenue. There's no minimum revenue required. I would say many of our teams are pre-seed to Series A funding rounds in that stage. And we look for teams that have at least or more than one team member, but also that they're working towards commercialization and profitability. So I've gotten about halfway through my presentation here, and if you're still kind of wondering if you're too early or too mature, or if the food and ag competition, Grow New York, is a fit or not, you can ask yourself if $1 million would move the dial, it's likely a fit. I'd also like to offer a one-on-one meeting with your team if you're contemplating applying and you're not quite sure if it is a fit. I'm happy to meet with teams to verify that. Okay. So I'm going to go over the criteria. This is listed on our website if you're looking for, with their descriptions, if you're looking for a reference. But the judging criteria is the same from the application all the way through to the final pitch that you present in November. So in your application, you'll find that there's parts of the application asking you to respond to each one of these bullets minus participation. When it comes to team, the judges are looking for who is on your team and who is influencing the decisions of the business itself. They're wanting to kind of get a sense of what the strengths and gaps are across the team and the diversity of those strengths and the diversity of the expertise composing your team. They're also looking at your viability of commercialization and business model. So that's really an explanation of what your pathway is to commercialization, how it incorporates upstate New York and the Grow New York region, and then also how sustainable your business model is. Customer value is going to be asking you to describe the market fit for your innovation, service, or product, and what needs are being met in the upstate area by our farms and in our food and ag industries here. Growth potential does look at maturity, but also readiness for an investment, as well as job growth potential as well. Um, I've talked a little bit of that, it is an innovation competition, so it's definitely a significant criteria evaluated by the judges is your innovation in itself. Is it new? Is it novel? And what problem is it solving and or what need is being met by your innovation. And then as the competition's objective is as an economic development strategy, we're really looking for your perspective on how your startup will create jobs in the Grow New York region. Will you grow in the region in size, but also how will you grow in revenue is significant to your application as well. The participation bullet at the bottom here is more of an evaluation or scoring of your participation as a finalist in the business development phase. So that's not something scored or evaluated on the application itself. Okay. So the application, if you haven't had a chance, we do have a portal linked on the upper right-hand corner of our website that is Apply Now button. And when it directs you to our skilled login page, you're able to create an account and start or review the application as many times as you need, submit and unsubmit the application up until May 15th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. That last submission is the one that would be considered your final submission as an application. Um, some insight I like to give to applicants as they're working on their application is to invite others within your team and your network to evaluate or read your application based against the scoring criteria. So really getting insight and perspective from different backgrounds helps ensure that your application is accurate, thorough, and concise as possible to the scoring criteria. It's very important to give considerable time and focus to your business model and how it integrates your pathway to commercialization with upstate New York and the Grow New York region. Um, I discourage using jargon or acronyms, and I always encourage citing your statements if you are going to be using statistics or different analysis. Please reference your supporting documentation. We realize that there are limited character space available, so, and it's limited. So really spend concerted effort and time on your application to meet the space requirements while conveying all of the necessary information to make it a strong application. Okay. One component of the application will be submitting a cap table. And if you have not built a cap table or composed a cap table quite yet, due to the simplification of your business and business partners or the early stage of your business itself, we would still like a cap table regardless of the size of your team or your age or maturity. So even though you have not yet received equity investment from outside sources, you can still submit a simple cap table. That cap table will want to include a list of shareholders. Perhaps it's just founders again. The number of shares each of the shareholders have. What that number translate in terms of a percent of ownership of the company. And if there have been any recent transactions where shares of that type were bought or sold and at what per share price did the transaction occur? As I mentioned, this can be a very simplified breakdown or a little bit more complex depending on shareholders, number of shares, etc. We do have a specific information session similar to this one that will be more focused on answering questions about the cap table. That information session is held on May 13th. And as you work on your application and your cap table and you have questions to ask, I suggest you either email us in advance at grow-ny@cornell.edu and register for the May 13th information session. So one of the questions within the application is a regional impact question. I've mentioned multiple times that there's an objective or an economic development strategy to this competition. We're looking for teams that have some sort of impact, regional impact by having a presence here and having some sort of operations here in the Grow New York region. So you really want to make a persuasive case that you fit here in the upstate New York region, that there are resources here that you want to or have or seek to tap into and utilize to scale and grow. Defining what direct jobs you plan to create or that are existing, as well as what measurable impact you plan to make as a finalist in this competition. The judges are also through your application, getting a sense of how well you know the industry and the ecosystem and the players and how New York's food and ag ecosystem works. And expressing that through the regional impact question will really help the judges understand best if you are familiar with and are willing to work within the ecosystem here. You're going to be required ultimately, especially as a finalist, to formulate a plan for regional impact. So I really encourage you to do studies on the region, and I'm going to reference a document here that Destiny will drop into the chat, but it's called A Call for Innovation, New York's Agri-Food System. And there is a link here through the QR code as well, but this is really a wonderful document. It was written in 2020, I believe. It contains quite a bit of information from Ag Census from years prior, but it's really identifying the opportunities for technology in the food and ag space, as well as our supply chain here and how it works and functions and what gaps and opportunities exist. You'll get a good idea by reading this document, all the way from upstream farms to downstream CPG, item on the shelf as to what support resources are available and opportunities that exist for food and ag tech and beverage companies in the upstate region. I referenced the business development phase when I went over our timeline. After applications come in May 15th, we go through early phase judging. And by August, we are able to announce our 20 finalists. Those 20 finalists at the start of September enter into our business development phase. And that's a time in which they would be paired up with a mentor. It's 10 weeks of finalist mentoring. It's an opportunity for the finalists to work through the process of cementing relationships and really establishing strategic connections within the region. The mentor is there to facilitate introductions, but also to coach and advise on how to prepare a strong pitch. Throughout September, there are multiple webinars in which we provide representation from industry leaders, past prize winners, and multiple pitch critique and pitch coaching webinars to help support finalists ultimately prepare for their pitch that they present in November. As I mentioned, it's a 10-week accelerator program with one-on-one mentorship with the mentor that we provide. One really wonderful component of the business development phase is that the finalists visit the region. We, through the Grow New York program, support your visit with a paid stipend. So this is not afforded by teams necessarily. We calculate a stipend and provide that so that a team of two founders and or employees can visit for 2 nights, 3 days. And really, that is the time for them to explore the region on the ground, visit farms, tour facilities, have one-on-one face-to-face meetings. And all of this is planned before you arrive by you and your team mentor. And ultimately, those that are on the trip from your team, minimally one of them would be expected to be part of the pitch team that presents in November. And the outcomes from the regional visit should resonate in that pitch. So we've talked about the pitch briefly. As a finalist, each team, as I said, there's 20 finalist teams, again, are provided a stipend, again, to return to the region for a second visit. And this is the visit in November to compete in the actual Food and Ag Summit. It's taking place this year in Rochester, New York, November 12th and 13th, with an orientation day where all teams are expected to attend on November 11th. The summit is an in-person event. It's live with also a virtual audience. Each team gives a live pitch for 10 minutes, followed by a 10-minute Q&A with the live judges, and there are 7 of those judges. I'd like to mention too that you can look at our past mentors and judges posted on our website if you're curious as to the different members of each cohort. The judging criteria that I went over earlier is the same rubric and same judging criteria that the live pitch judges utilize and score against as well. There are 7 winning teams. Again, I'll go over it. One $1 million prize, 2 $500,000, and 4 $250,000 prize levels. So 7 winning teams of the Equity Investment Award, as well as 1 Audience Choice Award. Um, after winning of those 7 teams, they will sign a few different agreements. One of the agreements is the award agreement. This award agreement reviews or provides 3 to 4 outlined milestones, which coincide with 3 to 4 payments or tranches. The business milestones that are within the award agreement are defined by what the team pitched in their presentation in November. Um, as it aligns with the terms and conditions, and that the milestones are achievable. We work through finalizing that award agreement and having signatures from both Cornell University and the startup team. And that is how 12 months post winning, the prize winning startup is working on achieving each of those 4 milestones. The other agreement that is signed is the investment agreement. Um, the winners will sign this with Cornell University, and by prize level, the each winning team can decide whether they select a structure of a safe or a warrant. Um, it is 3% equity stake on the $1 million prize and 2% on the $500,000 and $250,000 level prize investments. And because these are non-negotiable, we do post them to our website, and that's on the competition tab at the bottom. You can see both the safe and the warrant drafted and download for your review. I'm going to conclude and maybe give a breath of fresh air before we turn into the questions. I'm highlighting that the application platform did open yesterday, March 1st. The deadline again is May 15th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We don't provide any wiggle room with that, so please be prompt and plan ahead. Don't procrastinate and miss this opportunity. If you do have any questions about what was presented here today and you'd like to, and/or you like to schedule a one-on-one with me to talk about eligibility or fit or answer any questions about preparing an application, please give us an email at grow-ny@cornell.edu. Also, you can use the hyperlink